Do you remember the first time you bombed?
I remember the last time I bombed. It was just a few days ago. I mean,
no way. Not a few days ago, really?
Bombing happens to every comic. I mean, you don't bomb the whole time, but I mean, especially when you're developing new material, you're going to bomb. I mean, it's part of writing a new hour or a new set. You know, it's inevitable.
Well, does it discourage you at all? It must kind of be discouraging. I mean, I'm sure you get used to it over the years, but at the beginning.
At the beginning, yeah, it's heartbreaking, but you know, the times that you get the laughs overpower the bombing. So that's what you're yearning for, to get back to it doing well. So yeah, it's tough.
I remember the night I saw you in LA, there was a guy who, I think it was either that night, we went twice that week, and it was either your night or the night after, and he got up usually a little later, and I don't know if they saved the greener comics for later in the night, but he didn't have you were the only guy that night that had an act. Like, you had something prepared. Everyone else just kind of got up there and talked, and the one guy later didn't say anything. He was like, well, what do you want me to do? That's what he kept saying to the audience. What do you want from me? And I kept going, but isn't that what you do? Isn't that what you're supposed to be doing?
Yeah, that's a problem, especially at the Comedy Store, because a lot of the guys that work there will only work there, and they wonder why they're not touring, why they're not on TV, and it's just like you've had all day to prepare that 15 minutes, and you're still going to go up and just say, what do you guys want to talk about? It's like, you've had all day to think about what you want to talk about. You're supposed to entertain them.
Have you ever been in that situation? It's a weird thing. It was a weird thing to sit and watch.
Well, I mean, I hate to say this, but I have a low tolerance for amateurs. I work so damn hard at the job that when I see somebody fluffing off or not taking it as seriously as I think that they should, I just kind of want to walk out of the room, and I don't want to be around it.
Well, that makes sense. Well, and you stood out. I remember that. You, Ahmed, and Whitney Cummings were the three that we were like, those three will make it. Those three will be huge for sure.
That's nice. I just talked to Whitney earlier today. We're good friends, and when she first came to L.A., I got her into a few different clubs, and then I started taking her out on the road with me. And there was one night I remember we were in San Jose, and I just go, Whit, in about a year, you're going to be headlining on your own, and maybe 5 years I'll be opening for you. So she's got it all. She's great.
Have you ever thought, she does a lot of the roasts, or recently she's doing the roasts. Have you ever been approached to do that, or would you think about doing that? Because you're more of a clean comic, I think, than a roaster.
Yeah, and I've been asked to do Chelsea lately. I've been asked to do the roasts about 2 years ago, but I don't like trashing people. I don't like being negative. I don't, it's just not my thing. I'd rather, if the joke's on anybody, it's going to be on me. So I don't enough. And I think especially those shows, you're trashing people that you don't really know, and they've actually earned the right to be a celebrity. And here's a bunch of comedians that nobody knows that's kind of trashing them. It's kind of like, it's weird to me.
It is a little strange. You mentioned that, but then again, I don't want to say you trash on it, because you don't trash on it. You touch on it like a lot of comics do, and it's more of poking fun at society and things. But I mean, you talk about music, and that brings people into culture, and black culture versus Asian culture versus your heritage,
right.
and magicians being a little gay and things like that. So it's not trashing on them, but it's putting a spin on them.
Yeah, I mean those Comedy Central roasts though, they get pretty brutal though.
Oh, I know.
Those are rough. The panel shows on Chelsea lately, it's just whatever celebrity seems to be going through a hardship or could be embarrassed by, it's a news story for that week, and you got a bunch of people that are pouncing on it, just kind of making fun of it. I don't know. It's not my thing. I mean, it certainly does well, and it's for certain people, but it's just not me. And
you keep your act fairly clean for the most part, too. I mean, you touch on racier things at times, but I would say you're more Seinfeld in that way, where it's a cleaner act.
Yeah, I think, it's tough when I'm starting off. I swear a bit more than I should, but my jokes are never on the strength of swearing or cursing. Mm-hmm. It's just something that's habitual, and for shock value, you say it, and it kind of garners laughter. For some reason, I still don't know why. I can't explain it, but as I get closer to filming a special, I weed out all the F-bombs and everything else and try to keep it as clean as possible.
How different? See, and I wonder about that too. The special compared to the live show. I mean, a musician can do a concert on TV, air it, and then go play those same songs live. Now, a comic, there must be. I don't know if it's a difficult thing or if you try and avoid it. Is your act similar to the special, or do you try and change it up for people that have seen it?
I mean, what you see is kind of what you get. I spent, a year and a half on the last one that just aired, the Byrne Identity, just really cultivating it. And so when I filmed it, I didn't need bullet points. I didn't need cue cards. I didn't need a timer. I had it down precise, everything. I knew exactly what the timing would be. And I guess, preparation breeds confidence. So I was very confident with everything. So now I'm just kind of writing with a third hour special now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Already planning stuff. So are you road testing some of the material tonight?
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah. Yeah, I road tested some of it last night, and there's some jokes that will not be making it to tonight.
Oh, there you go. do you find it a better time to? I'm always curious about this. Do you find a better time to write in the morning, afternoon? Like, is there a comedy time where, for you at least, where the writing material just gets better for some reason?
It can happen at any time because I fly always first thing in the morning, so I write on the plane sometimes. But on my off days, my weekends are Mondays and Tuesdays. So I used to live by the Los Angeles Public Library, and when I was writing the last one, I was there every Monday and Tuesday for about 2 or 3 hours, and I just forced myself to sit there and write everything that I try out that week. For example, like the introduction to the special, that Byrne Identity, I worked on that for maybe like a month and a half, 2 months straight, of trying to figure out how to introduce my thesis throughout the whole process. So that was pretty tough. But this one, I think, this third one, I think I'm going to kind of have a meld of the second one where it's a little more headier, and then the first one where it was kind of silly and observational. So I think I'm going to give a hybrid on the third one.
Right. Well, that's just growing up, right? That's just maturing too.
Yeah, it's maturing, and it's knowing what I'm capable of and what I'm. I've learned how to write for myself. Basically, is how I'd break it down.
Do you write for other people? Would you want to?
No, I can never write for other people, and I wouldn't want anybody else's jokes. I tried that once a while ago where I said, I'm under the gun to write this special, and I submitted a bunch of jokes to a writer, and I got it back, and I might as well just taken the money I spent on it and flush it down the toilet because I didn't use one joke that the guy gave me. It was heartbreaking, and I just said, the only person that's going to do this for me is me. The only person that's going to understand my voice best is me, so it might as well come from me.
I heard you were just working at a stand-up club in New York, just like sweeping floors and stuff. Didn't even want to become a stand-up, and then it fell into place? Yeah,
I finished college at Kent State University in Ohio, and I moved to New York City, and I went up and down Broadway. I probably went into 30, 40 restaurants that day, and I walked into Caroline's Comedy Club, and somebody just gotten fired, and the manager happened to be standing there. He goes, yeah, you come in tomorrow. You got a job. I thought, great, okay. So I started seeing all the great comics, everybody that was on SNL at the time. Dave Chappelle would come in all the time, Margaret Cho. I mean, you name the headliner, they came there because it's the big club in New York.
Right.
So I just saw everybody and just thought, man, that looks like a lot of fun. So 4 months later, I kind of worked up the courage to do it, and thank God the first time went over pretty well, and then the second time I went up, but there was a booking manager in the audience, and he gave me his card, and I started kind of working right away. So I really lucked out.
Do you remember what was the first joke you said the first time you got up?
I don't remember the first joke I said.
Oh,
I just remember my first time. It was almost like the first time I had sex. It was quick. I cried afterwards, and I said, I can't wait to do that again.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you mentioned Chappelle Show. I know you've done Chappelle Show. You've been in a lot of movies. You even you had to cancel Wednesday night because you're out filming a new movie.
Yeah, I did a scene with Vince Vaughn and Kevin James. It's for a movie called The Dilemma, and we got to film in the United Center where the Blackhawks won, which was pretty cool. And it takes place during a Blackhawks game, so it's a pretty cool scene. And we got to I got to skate on the United Center ice. I got to meet a lot of the Hawks, and I ended up the night before I came here, I got a little too hammered with Dave Boland from the Hawks, and He's a true Canadian. I guess he can handle his liquor, and I am a true American. I cannot. So.
Well, I was going to say, so you're a hockey fan being an American. That's an interesting thing. I know there are a few of you down there, but for the most part, we don't expect that.
Yeah, no, I grew up in Pittsburgh. I played all my life. I played since I was 6 years old. My father played ice hockey, which is even more rare, I believe, coming out of New York City. So he was a big Rangers fan growing up. We moved to Pittsburgh. I became a huge Penguins fan. And I was rooting for the Pens even during the tough times in the early 90s when it was bleak. And,
early 90s? But you won 2 cups in the early 90s.
Well, in the early 90s, but then you got to remember in the 90s after Lemieux kind of left.
Oh, I see.
That dark period where it was brutal. It was like Kasparaitis was our big guy
right.
on the team. It was it was really bad.
Well, then Lemieux bought the team. You got Crosby, and now you guys are a powerhouse once again.
Yeah, it's been tremendous. And then I actually moved to Chicago about a year ago, and so it was great to see everything happening with Chicago. So maybe I'll move to Edmonton, and I'll bring you guys some luck.
Yeah, we got a bunch of new young players.
Yeah, you got the first pick, so congrats.
Well, thank you. How come Chicago is such a comedy hotbed? Did you ever try Second City? Have you tried improv?
No, that's a different kind of thing, and I think with the improv, with the sketch, it's more formulaic. There's a structure to it all, and that's something that I don't like being part of a team necessarily in regards to that. I like stand-up where it's just me. If I bomb, it's on me. I'm not waiting on anybody else. If I have a good night, I have a good night. If I have a bad night, I have a bad night. I don't want to be dependent on 3 or 4 other people to hope to get some laughs. So I was just kind of like being a lone gunslinger, I guess, on stage all by my lonesome.
That makes sense. But yet touring with a bunch of comedians is a different story altogether.
Touring is great, yeah, because, I mean, I've been touring pretty much 2 years straight by myself, so it's been pretty brutal. And I've had 1 week off in the last 2 years, so
wow.
When you do get to tour with friends, it is a blast because, now you get to eat lunch with somebody, you get to hang out.
Right. Yeah, it must be a very lonely existence being on the road. It must be like a folk singer almost who's just them and their guitar.
Yeah, it basically you come to the conclusion that you will die alone.
Oh, come on.
What happens, so...
Don't be so bleak on me. You'll be fine. You've been working hard 2 years, so you're saving up the coin to settle down with a nice family one day.
Yeah, absolutely. And found a great city in Chicago, and what a huge hockey town, too. So real excited to be there.
We were mentioning Vince Vaughn before. We were talking about the road, and you're going on the road with them for a month? Something like that?
Yeah, first 2 weeks in November because when we were there filming, when I was there filming my scene with those guys originally the first time, we did a one-off show at the Park West Theater in Chicago and sold out, and it was great. It was a lot of fun, and Vince and Kevin hosted it, and it was me and some other comedians. And Kevin just had a blast, and Vince had a blast. They said, let's do that again. Let's do a tour to promote the movie and bring the other guys back. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're all going to get in some buses and just go across the states for 2 weeks and spend the first 2 weeks in November doing some comedy. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, and less lonely for you as well.
Less lonely, and it's pretty darn cool getting to perform with 2 major movie stars as well. Getting to go to these major theaters and everything. So it's going to be a blast. I really look forward to it.
How do they vie as stand-ups though? Because that's not their trade.
Well, Kevin James actually started off as a stand-up, so he's fine. But I think that Vince and Kevin are hosting it, and in between each comic, they're just going to do a sketch or something fun with the audience. But they won't be doing the stand-up.
That's where you come in.
Yeah, well, I'll be doing the heavy lifting, and they'll put their name on the marquee and bring everybody in.
Oh, exactly. Hey, it works. If it works, it works.
Yeah.
What was your part in the dilemma? What are you in the movie?
I play a gentleman next to Vince during the hockey game, and I heckle Kevin James because Kevin is shooting the puck at center ice to try to win a prize or whatever it is.
Oh, really?
So I have an exchange with Kevin, then I have an exchange with Vince, and even though on screen it might last maybe 2 minutes, those filming a movie is a long, laborious process.
Right.
So people always think it's glamorous and exciting, and you see a movie set and you go there and it's like it's awesome the first 2 minutes, and then the next 18 hours you just want to kill yourself.
Just sitting around doing nothing.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty darn boring.
We do this thing on the show, 5 questions, 5 quick questions, 1-word answers.
Okay.
Carlin or Pryor?
Pryor.
Lennon or McCartney?
Lennon.
Which culture has better jokes, Korean or Irish?
Irish.
Bit you're most proud of?
Stereotypes to music.
And 1 word, Steve Byrne.
That's it.
just the noise?
Yeah, the noise. I don't want a word. It just sounds like